You've written a book on Gujarat, the great tragedy. And I read one story you'd written, an article you'd written about Geeta Ben. A lot of emotion in there. When I read that piece, I thought of, Hannah Arendt, who was sent to cover Adolf Eichmann's trials by the New Yorker in '61, and then she wrote a series of 5 articles and then wrote a book about it. She sort of developed this theory of the banality of evil. And what she said was that it doesn't take a monster to do horrific things. It just takes very ordinary, commonplace people who then begin to believe that it's all right to do. And that is what happened in Gujarat.
When our I was in Times at that time, right? And when the resident editor Kingshuk Nag sent us the photograph of the body of Geeta Ben lying naked on the street, and it was such a shocking picture. And I wanted my editor. I said we should publish this because this will shake the conscience of India. I knew, of course, that it was not publishable, right, for a variety of reasons. And so when the editor said no, sorry, we can't do it, right? That night I couldn't sleep, and I said, okay, how do I
think the description was
so I said, okay, as a writer, can I use words to convey the horror that I'm seeing in that photograph? And that was the genesis of that, because here was a woman, a Hindu woman, who defended her husband or lover. We still don't know who, but he was a Muslim, and Sangh Parivar activists were enraged at this so-called illicit relationship, and they finally, she allowed him to escape, but they wreaked her revenge on her. And I wrote this piece about how, in her moment of defiance, this one woman showed more fidelity to the principles and what is best in the Hindu faith, and stood up for the conscience of all Hindus in India. And when religious leaders kept silent and the Prime Minister kept silent, that here was a woman that deserved to be celebrated, and her sacrifice should be remembered. So you have ordinary people who do terrible things, and you have ordinary people who do enormously courageous things. And I remember a conversation, a group of Kashmiri Pandits came to see me in, I think, 2003 or 2004, because they were very keen to create the atmosphere for them to go back home. They'd all been cruelly evicted from their homeland by terrorist violence, and they wanted to go back. And we had a conversation, and one of these young Kashmiri Pandit boys said that he resents the fact that his suffering is used in some way to minimize what's happened in Gujarat. And that, as far as he was concerned, the Muslims of Gujarat and the Kashmiri Pandits of Kashmir were both equally, they were both victims of communal politics and of insensitive, uncaring state that doesn't want to protect the rights of its citizens. So I think that we should resist anybody who tries to play one tragedy off against the other and ultimately end up justifying this riot system or this system of communal politics. And I think that's where, again, the media has a role to play by not allowing these kind of trade-offs.
You've written about the riot system. How can journalists break that riot system?
Central to the riot system is the tacit green light that comes from the top, right? Delhi '84 or Gujarat 2002 would have been impossible without that green light from the top. And the green light operates at multiple levels. It operates during the violence. It operates after the violence, when people cannot register cases, when cases which come to court are sabotaged through shoddy investigation or bad prosecutions. And I think, thanks to the media's expose of what happened in Gujarat, because we built on the lessons that we should have learned from Delhi '84, the Gujarat government has had a much harder time getting away with what it did in 2002. The Supreme Court has played a stellar role. The NHRC intervened at that point in time. So things are much better today than they were in '84 or immediately after '84.
Still not good enough.
But you're right, they're still not good enough. And I think the problem there again is our inability to stay with the story, right? Our inability to continue to report even minute developments that are very central to dismantling this riot system.
So you need somebody like a fox terrier who just hangs on to a story and keeps going at it.
She's not very popular among journalists because she's very persistent, but you take somebody like Teesta Setalvad, right? Teesta has dedicated 15-20 years of her life to exposing the riot system, and she has unearthed so many details. Now she is messianic about it, and she is very committed, and she will flood you with information. But the fact is that that's, you know, every society needs people who do that, and I think the media should pay attention to people like her. There were other people in the aftermath of the '84 riots who were also active, but who did not get given that much of bhav. And we you know, I think we need to listen to these voices. We need to listen to the information they put. Of course, vet everything yourself. But for heaven's sake, this is too big a story, because you're talking about the killing of, you know, 1,400, 1,500 innocent people.
If you go to smaller towns, villages, that fatalistic attitude has gone. There is a hunger and there is an anger. We were talking earlier about how abusive Twitter has become, and it's become such a murky scene, and there's anger everywhere, with no citizenry educated to its responsibilities, rather just educated into its greed and demands. So what kind of a role can journalism and journalists play in this?
The biggest problem that I see with the way public discourse in India has become vitiated in the last 3-4 years is that there is no room for debate, discussion, disagreement anymore. The minute somebody says something which you or I may not agree with, or that somebody else doesn't agree with, we tend to assume the worst about the other person, that, oh, she or he may be somebody's agent.
There's always this, it's like football teams.
Absolutely.
That if you're criticizing one politician, it means you're a pimp of the Congress.
Exactly.
If you're criticizing the Congress, then you're a stooge of the BJP.
Exactly. You mentioned Geeta Ben in Gujarat. I mean, the Hindu, on the 10th anniversary of the Gujarat riots, 28th February, carried an op-ed by Farah Naqvi. Farah Naqvi was instrumental in a very powerful report that came out in the midst of the violence on crimes against women. There was an investigative team, and so we asked Farah to do a piece 10 years on, and she wrote a brilliant, beautiful piece, moving piece. Now Farah happens to today be a member of the NAC, and some of the comments that people posted on our website were, no wonder she's a member of, with views like this, obviously Congress put her and made her. So, you know, trying to present her as a Congress stooge. But I've known Farah for years. Farah was one of those people who was equally critical of the Congress party during the '84 riots. You know, so there's this knee-jerk response that you don't judge the views of somebody and engage with them, and you instead look for some way to take them down, some way to, you know, name call, some way to vilify or to malign.
How do we
and
change this?
Well, it's difficult, because it's not just random guys on Twitter. It's not angry guys on Twitter who are doing this alone, right? When the Prime Minister of India, in response to ongoing agitations in Kudankulam and elsewhere, says that, oh, this is foreign funded, foreign hand. You know, when the PM speaks like this,
it sounds like a tweeter.
It's it's really worrying, because, you know, you have people who, you know, nuclear plants are coming up all over the country, and everywhere, whether it's Jaitapur or Andhra Pradesh or Haryana, Tamil Nadu, people aren't comfortable, right? So if they're not comfortable and they don't understand and they have fears about what this project is going to mean for their livelihood or ecology, engage with them, right? And engage with them through science, reason, discussion.
But this party has never either explained policy,
well,
or given press conferences for a particular issue, or address the nation even.
This is the problem, right? So rather than debating and engaging with people and allaying people's concerns, it's far easier to say, oh, these are NGOs, foreign funded. You know, Kudankulam is a foreign built project. There's no major infrastructure project in India which doesn't receive foreign funding. So even if an NGO is foreign funded in Kudankulam, how is it different from half the other things that go on in this country that are foreign funded? That surely cannot be the basis for discussion, right? Unfortunately, from angry young guy on Twitter all the way up to the Prime Minister, or, you know, the Sangh Parivar, or various people, you know, you cannot show a movie without somebody screaming and shouting. You cannot have an art exhibition. You cannot show plays without
invite a writer.
Exactly, invite Rushdie without busybodies claiming to be offended and then imposing their views. What we try to do with the Hindu is to serve as a civil platform, or a platform for civil discourse and civil debate and argumentation. So we have columns now where we carry an op-ed and then we invite a response and we allow the original writer to respond. So, you know, that's one way to do it. But, you know, television has a lot of debate that you see on TV actually fuels this anger and this powerlessness, right? Because you have the same old, the same faces
screaming at each other.
Exactly, same. And the way that things are set up, not that it shouldn't be adversarial. Obviously, adversariality is central to politics and debate, right? But there's some sense in which you don't come away with a sense of closure. You come away with a sense of burning rage when you watch these debates.